if you have a budget, you can find something at Indy. And welcome to the Auto Shift. I'm Chad Allen Tyson. This is Jim Pickering, and that's Chad Taylor. And we are going to talk today about Mecum Indy and their Spring Classic sale. 38th.
38th,
It's
okay.
the 38th original Spring Classic.
Wow. They've been doing this for quite a long time.
2 years longer than, or 2 fewer years than I've been around.
And 4 more than I've been around.
Well, there you go. There you go. Jim, you can spare your...
So what I was only a couple years old when they started this out, you know. So what you're saying is they know what they're doing when it comes to sales in Indy. They've been doing it forever.
They have been doing it forever there, and this is... or it has been almost universally the largest sale in the country for the entire year. Mm-hmm. The only one that has since pipped it has been Mecum's Kissimmee sale.
Right.
And that one, for whatever reason, seems to garner more cars now. But this one was the standard forever.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like it kind of is in their catalog. Like Kissimmee's bigger by a lot, but this feels like this is their halo sale to me in Mecum's catalog of auctions every year.
Agreed. I mean, this is one. This was the first sale, I believe, that they had that they pipped $100 million. Was
right.
in Indy, as opposed to Kissimmee. And yeah, this is the one where they will try and bring out the biggest, heaviest hitters they have beyond, like Monterey specific cars. I mean, Dana even broke out his prototype GT this year. Didn't sell it 7.5 or 7.75 million. Asking north of 10. If anybody's still interested, contact Dana Mecum. One of the really neat things that certainly coastal people don't get about Indianapolis is just how centrally located it is for 80% of the United States population. It's a matter of hours of driving. I mean, within a day for more than 3/4 of the U.S. population can get to Indy super quick, super easy. The town is set up to handle so many people coming through. I mean, they host regularly Final Fours.
The Indy 500.
The Indy 500. They're used to moving people in and out of that town, and it makes a lot of sense that this is. I mean, and Mecum has helped grow that as well because they've been there every year,
right?
Just selling and selling and selling. Just real quick, let's get some top line numbers.
Okay.
Of the stuff that I have kept track of. So we're talking cars, trucks, haulers under their own power. That sort of thing is what I kept in the results for this sale.
So no car trailers.
No car trailers, no boats, 2 wheels bad.
Sorry, motorcycle guys.
Sorry, I hate them. But they're not part of the car stuff that I'm trying to think of. Motorcycle is
it's a separate part of the market. Mecum certainly appreciates and works in that market.
Oh,
space.
they do.
But when we're talking about classic cars, I'm right there with you. I think it makes sense to keep them separate.
Yeah, motorcycles, it's their own little subgenre, and the people who love them, and bless you for it.
That's not us.
No, it's not.
Sorry.
So number of cars offered, 2,261.
Right.
Number sold, 1,650. That's a 73% sell-through rate, which is incredible.
Yeah.
For the almost 3/4. I mean, historically, somewhere around 60%, 65 on a good year were the numbers. But anywhere near 3/4 sell-through rate on a sale with reserve is impressive.
And with this number of cars.
Oh, yeah, 2,200 plus. Oof.
I mean, that 3/4 kind of 75% sell-through rate on a 100 lot auction, 200 lot auction is more common, but 2,200 cars, that's impressive.
It's truly impressive what they were pulling through there. And the total sales of stuff I tracked, $100,234,194.
Wow.
So they broke the 9-figure mark for this sale, which is still a good high water mark to keep track of. I mean, there's some once in a while that blasted way past that number, but still an impressive.
I think we should talk about some general things that we saw from the auction. And the first one that is on my list compares to some of the other auctions we've been watching lately in terms of the types of cars that make it to auction. And a good example here is the C10 pickup. We, in the past, probably 4 years, 5 years, have seen a large number of custom and restored C10 Chevrolet and GMC pickups go across auction blocks at places like Barrett-Jackson, a lot of different coastal sales, and they tend to do fairly well, especially right now. $100,000 lots, no problem. I mean, go back and look at Barrett-Jackson's numbers out of any sale, Palm Beach, Scottsdale, any of them. You don't see that here at Mecum Indy. And I think this is something that we talked about back in the day in our magazine careers, where it's a difference of not just the clientele that come to the auction, but the auction itself and where it is. Indy has always been
location.
They haven't had the same kind of enthusiasm for modified trucks that you would see on the coastal areas for
Completely
classic.
agree.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Completely agree with that.
And I think a part of that is you're in the middle of not just farm country, but the middle part of the country just in general. And I think there's maybe a leap that hasn't happened in that part of the world with classic trucks not being seen as performance vehicles or hot rods the same way that they're being seen out on the coasts.
I agree. The Midwest, Indy is very solidly Midwestern. I mean, they have just historically been pickup territory. They were perhaps special in the way that, Grandpa had one, we like that thing. But
Sentimental value.
there's sentimental value, but there's still a billion of them.
Their tools are a little more still utilitarian.
Yeah,
and
and plenty of that stuff happens on farms and ranches, along the coast and whatnot. But there just isn't the concentration of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think
It's much more part of the useful culture.
Yeah, I think
day to day.
Chad, I think you nailed it by saying that these things, they're still tools. Yeah. And I think that's part of what the appeal is outside of areas where they are being seen as something else. I mean, when I built my 67, I had to go way out of town to get it, to find one that was reasonably priced. So there you go. I think it has, all these things are interconnected.
And to that point, I have been looking for car parts, specifically LS engines, to be putting in the Impala. And it's really interesting to go to car-part.com and type in different zip codes, looking for the exact same part from the exact same vehicles, but just searching via different zip code. And if you keep it within 100 miles of the Portland area, I mean, an LS4 is going to run you $1,200.
Interesting.
Unless you do the pick and pull special. But the services that already have the engine pulled and labeled and everything, it's $1,200 for just a long block, really.
Yeah.
Put in a different zip code. You do something maybe a little more rural, northeastern Colorado, anywhere in Nebraska. It's a completely different story. Yeah. The parts are more plentiful. They are much cheaper. The issue then becomes getting that part here.
Road trip.
Which adds to the cost and all that stuff. But it is already kind of, the market's already kind of segmented itself with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I think that, the formula still works for the classic truck.
Yes.
Yeah. Of LS motor, lowered suspension, big brakes, all that stuff. It's funny that we didn't see it at Indy as much. And, I think that just reflects positively on how Indy is much more of a traditional sale in a lot of ways for a traditional clientele that is more interested in things like restored muscle, more traditional hot rods, that kind of stuff. So, and I think the numbers are going to show that when we get into some of these here. I know mine will. I've got some here that I picked that are right along those lines.
It was very much like looking at a sale back from 2008, 2009 versus seeing Scottsdale this year with Barrett-Jackson's numbers, and not numbers, but vehicles on offer.
And what's funny is that is not a new development.
No.
When we look at Indy traditionally over the course of the last 20 years that I've been watching this sale, it has always been that way.
That's the premium muscle sale of the year.
It just reflects a different part of the market, a part of the market that is, I think, most of the middle of the country in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So for what it's worth, I think that was one takeaway that I think was interesting.
To the point that this is the traditional kind of spot for high-end muscle and whatnot. There were 5 different Hemi Plymouths. There were 5 different 69 Yanko Camaros. This is one of the premier places to unload one of those cars, and also to shop for.
In addition to that, look at all the Super Duty Pontiacs that they had, all the Swiss cheese Catalinas that they had.
So many.
So, and that's not
That
new.
whole collection, or most of that, almost all of that collection was really, really cool.
The
All
very,
those Super Duty
the
Pontiacs.
very first, maybe it was the second Indy sale that I covered for Sports Car Market or edited back in the day. I think it would have probably been 2006 or 2007. They sold a bunch of Swiss cheese cars, and a lot of these ones popped up again. So this is kind of the location for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just because regionally that's where they're located. I think that everybody in the market who has cars of that caliber knows that this is where they should bring
They got to take them there. Yeah.
You're not going to take, a Swiss cheese Catalina with, that was raced by somebody back in the day and still has all of its original, paint and everything from when it was raced, and take it to Monterey and sell it there and not do as well as you did here.
And I think you could take it to Scottsdale or Kissimmee, maybe somewhere like that. But I think even more so, Indy is more of a sure deal of getting the job done and getting the number you want out of your car.
Yeah.
So
when it comes to stuff like that, absolutely. You want to go first? What do you have?
I do. Speaking of traditional muscle, the one thing I wanted to point out, and I've been waiting for these cars to pop again for 10 years. So lot F-150, which was not a Ford F-150. Somebody missed that one. At the same time, I don't know what F-150 you're going to put in that slot that's going to bring this kind of money. Lot F-150 was a 1970 Ford Mustang Boss 429 Fastback that sold for $627,000. These things have been stuck $250 to $350 for 10 years. Some of the better ones, they could pip for, they could kiss 400,000. And if you found the right one, if you found a special one, maybe it went a little more than that. But this one went for $627,000.
What that tells me is that this car has all the right bits and pieces. And there's a lot of Boss 429 specific pieces, including the lug nuts. So
yeah, they were advertising this one as the ultimate and most sought after Boss 429 color combination. Only one of 5 known to exist in this configuration.
interesting.
Out of the Apex collection, it's got its 429, got a 4-speed, a lovely Calypso coral, over white, and apparently everything had been gone through. This thing was just perfect.
Interesting.
According to everybody who was bidding, I was watching this thing go, and they just kept throwing bids at it. They just kept on going. Once we got past 450,000, I'm like, okay, surely at some point we're wrapped. Nope. It kept on going for minutes more.
I think that final bid definitely reflects the condition of that car, because there were several other 429s at the sale that were a lot more in that kind of range we've been seeing for the past several years as well. So this must have been the real deal. Having not seen it in person, but it must have been the one to have.
Yeah, there's 2 things that could have happened here, really, if you're looking at this from an armchair perspective. One is it was at the right time and the right people were in the room, which is something we've talked about before. We see that happen all the time at auctions. The typical bidders bar commentary will float around stuff that doesn't seem to make sense otherwise. But you have to remember the auction itself, where we are, who is there, and what the other vehicles on site are like. And that is, I think, more important in this case to demonstrate that this car had to have been the right configuration. It had to have had all the right bits and pieces, because the guys that know, they really know, and they really value this stuff, because a lot of it is just unobtainable. It's just not there. You want to save the lug nuts on a 70 Boss 429, right? Who did that? Back in the day, first thing that happened, day 2, you yanked those original wheels off and you put Kragers on it, right? So that probably happened. And so somebody tracked down those original lug nuts. And it's not just the lug nuts. There's all kinds of bits and pieces that are unique to these cars.
Well, and it was a 70, not a 69.
Right.
There was a 69 that did $500,500. And that is the first recorded one painted candy apple red.
Interesting.
So that was worth some money. But again, it is presumably the right bits were there as well for $500,000 on a car.
70 Pontiac GTO Judge convertible. This was lot S295 on Saturday. It was $203,500.
Yeah, this one.
This is a Ram Air 3 automatic convertible. It's one of 168 that were built. It was also an AACA Senior National First winner in 2010. This is, I think, strong money for one of these cars. The most recent comp that I could find, and I think the high water mark, was a 70 GTO Judge convertible with a 4-speed, so it was slightly different, that sold at Kissimmee for $297.
Okay.
That same car, the one that was $297 in January, was $375 at Indy in 2023, which is interesting. So I think that there's definitely a little bit of reshuffling happening in the high-end muscle market.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there was anything particularly challenging or wrong about this GTO Judge convertible, but we're seeing some numbers that are kind of sloping just a little bit downward here from, say, some excitement that we saw earlier in the last couple of years. So
yeah, post-COVID lockdown, I think got people's minds in a much different place. We've talked about how maybe new buyers are after just the experience rather than the collection of all the stuff that gets to come with the car, old parts and whatnot, which is where you lose those lug nuts.
right, yeah.
Maybe some of that high is coming down, in addition to some other perhaps market forces.
Can I just say maybe something a little controversial, especially coming from the guy who's not a muscle car. I don't bleed the muscle cars like these two do.
Not yet. We'll convert you.
Are
one
you
of these
saying they're dying?
I'm just saying the people that want them maybe starting to die a little bit.
No.
I mean, I
the
think
muscle car is quintessentially a boomer vehicle.
I feel like it's getting a little closer to where the Tri-5s were years ago. Not that saying that that's like neither have dropped. We talk about Tri-5s have not dropped off the face of the earth either.
And they're not going to.
No.
Yeah,
and I don't see that happening with muscle, but I feel like there's just that little bit of natural changing of market in decline there.
and aging out, you think, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's another thing to consider here, too, and that is there are a lot of people that are into this stuff who just don't have the money to afford it at the level where it is currently trading.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that continue to be a factor. As stuff comes down, though, I think it's going to come down, level out, and then go back up again, quite frankly. I'm waiting to see it. We've been waiting for this to happen for years, right?
I do believe there will be, barring complete economic catastrophe, a floor on a lot of classic stuff that is just, once it gets cheap enough again, then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's entirely reasonable.
I've thought this for several years, and this goes back not even to just muscle or Tri-5s, but for me, who's someone who really likes turn of the century cars from like 1900s and stuff that are just weird, I feel like those are going to have the same floor. They might be kind of at it now, and I know people tend to claim all the time, especially with those cars, no one cares about them. They're nothing. Everybody's just forgotten. I would argue not necessarily, but it takes a while for a younger collector to start looking back that far into a car that's so out of their time. We're going to start with stuff we know, we grew up with. We're going to get back there. I honestly think that. I may be a little ahead because I'm weird, but I think some of that stuff is very cool. And I think other young people will get back there as well. And I think that works all the way through the timeline.
Yeah, the first step is the financial one, though. It needs
Definitely.
to get cheap enough that the fun part is no longer inaccessible to somebody who's got a student loan or has a young family or just bought a house or any of those things.
You got to be able to do it without upending your whole entire life to make it happen.
And that doesn't mean that they don't want to and they don't
Exactly.
dream of it. It just means that they can't yet.
Yep.
Now, speaking of things that are coming down, I've got one here that I think is really, really interesting. 1970 Plymouth Superbird.
I think I know which one you're going to say.
Yes, let me pull up the number here. This was lot S112, sold on Saturday, May 17th. $418,000. This is a Hemi car, automatic, 33,000 original miles, one of 135 with the Hemi and one of 77 with the automatic. It came with its broadcast sheet. It had a WISE report. It last sold. This is the important part.
Hang on, before you go there. For that number seems a little light to me, just in general.
Just in general, yeah.
Am I wrong in that?
No, it seemed light to me too for a Hemi car.
Okay, proceed, Mr. Pickering. Sorry.
All the Hemis went kind of light here.
Interesting. Well, the last time we saw this car sell, and I know this because I wrote about this car when it sold, Barrett Jackson, Las Vegas, 2022, sold for $1.65 million. So you stay around in the market long enough, you do this kind of work long enough, you're going to hear people say, and you're going to find yourself saying, that one sale does not make a market, and that is true. But this is a strange result, regardless. The current market, I don't think, is as forgiving to the over-enthusiasm that we saw out of COVID.
No.
I think
You're not going to
back
see
exactly to what you just said.
You're not going to see the replica of the same thing that happened 3 years ago. Still, this was the world record car for a good reason. But you have to remember, too, when it sold at Bear Jackson, the high bidder, took it. He wanted it badly. He took it from 1.1 to 1.5 in one bid to try to just hammer it done and take it home.
Sounded like it worked.
So I think it was a reflection of market confidence in 2022. This guy was confident in where things were going, wanted that car, was going to spend the money to get it no matter what. It's not the same world now.
No.
So I don't think that's a problem for Mecum. I don't think that's necessarily a problem for anything other than market enthusiasm and just a different world than it was a couple years ago. Now, where do we go from here? I think there's still money in that car. I think you could take that car and sell it, maybe do better. But it's going to be a while, because where's it going to do better than Indy? The only thing you could say was maybe there were too many of them there.
Yeah.
But we've seen that happen in the past at other auctions and other situations. RM Sotheby's, back in, I want to say it was 2009 or 2010, brought a whole handful of Mercedes 500 and 540Ks to Monterey.
I think that was a couple years later.
Yeah.
I'm going to say maybe 2012-ish.
There were like 7 of them.
Yep.
All in a row.
In one sale, pretty much consecutively in the run order.
And we all thought this was a terrible idea. Why would you do that? And what happened? They all brought great money.
Oh, yeah. No, everybody knew that's where you had to be to get one of those this year or that year.
Yeah. Now, granted, a 500K or a 540K is not a Superbird. These are separate markets, different people, different buyers. However, I think it still stands to reason that it shouldn't matter how many Superbirds are in any sale when you have one of that caliber that was the world record car, has all the right stuff. I mean, the only thing that would make it better is if it was a 4-speed. And maybe, I mean, you could argue that maybe a Daytona would have been better because they made fewer of them. But still, it's the right color, it's got the right engine, it's the right condition, and somebody got a hell of a buy on it.
Yeah, they did. There was another 70 Hemi Superbird that sold for $605.
Interesting.
So, I mean, almost $200,000 more than the former record holder.
Interesting.
Same automatic. I mean, I mean, I didn't see much of a difference between the two, but
well, I mean,
bidders on the ground did.
And that's that I think reflects back toward that Boss 429, right?
Yeah.
The people that really know are really gonna know, and they're willing to pay for the right stuff. Now, does that mean that something happened or something was wrong with that Superbird? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that just happens at auctions from time to time. So, again, congratulations to the new owner. I think they did a great job.
Let's take a little shift. Let's go to the supercar side of things,
I love
because
it.
I had to go to the top end and see what kind of brand new cars were doing or not doing. There's a selection of McLarens, some special one-offs. I think what was the biggest sale, that LaFerrari?
Correct.
It was like three something.
3.85.
Yeah. Versus 3 McLarens, MSO cars, McLaren Special Operations, which none of them sold. Speedtail, Elva, with that race car version.
They
they're
did
not gone.
offload one of the Speedtails, the yellow one.
Okay. All right.
And that's not the one that I've seen pop up before. The last one I think was either silver or blue, if I remember properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was a blue one. There's I think 5 or so in this
On the specialty ones,
the collection. Yeah. They did sell a Veyron too.
Yeah, the Vitesse was
Vitesse,
the number
sorry.
2 seller for the whole sale.
Yeah, which I would argue is a little more in line with that LaFerrari as far as similar cars.
Sure.
Versus a one-off, this Solus GT, which looked to be not a road legal car. It was sold on a.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, bill of sale. The Elva and that interesting pink blue pearlescent highlighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a strong day for a lot of supercars there. And I think that's partially because there's a lot of supercars out there right now. A lot of limited edition supercar from X manufacturer. McLaren, I think, is probably among the top of them, maybe with Lamborghini right behind.
Those are the first two.
Those are the first two. Ferrari has done some of this as well, but I think to a smaller extent with their specialty cars. And, you know, Ferrari's so different with their who's allowed to buy what and such anyway. I think
that's how we got Lamborghini, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And I think that LaFerrari selling is proof that they're probably the masters at this still, with the only car selling out of that other than the Bugatti.
Well, this is part of the magic of Indy, is they will run, you know, $20,000 muscle cars all day long and still hit, not even a majority, but still hit quite a few of the multi-million-dollar hyper cars, super cars, whatever we want to call those the new breed of stuff. I mean, that's soulless. What was that? It was insane looking. I loved it. I'm not paying $2 million for it, but I'm not paying $2 million for anything right now. So, I mean, it would just be
or maybe ever. I don't know.
I'm going to believe right now I'm not. And then
Such an optimist.
We'll leave the future open for debate.
I think that makes good sense.
But in addition to being masters of the entry-level stuff and a big player on top-level stuff, they have some weird stuff too. And that's one of the things that you can really do with 2,200, 2,300 lots in a sale.
Well, and really you have to do.
You have to.
Because you can't have it all muscle, all trucks, all high-end supercars, hypercars.
No.
There has to be other things.
There has to be.
It's color and it's excitement, honestly. I mean,
You need
makes it fun.
some sizzle to go with the steak.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point out my favorite bit of sizzle.
I thought you might pick this one.
And I mean, we're along similar veins, at least in terms of body style, as the McLarens.
Wait. Say that again.
Wait.
Really slowly into the microphone so we can send it right to McLaren.
McLaren, you design your cars like a Batmobile. Like the 1989 officially licensed Warner Brother exhibition and stunt show vehicle, Batmobile, that Mecum sold at Indy. It was lot S341. And this is legit a Batmobile that sold for $352,000.
Bargain.
It says it has a mile. I refuse to believe there's an actual odometer in there.
That's unlikely.
Does it say what it was built on top of, or is it a custom frame?
I believe I saw it was a custom frame.
Because I know a lot of these back in the day, and when I say a lot of these, I mean some of the ones that they used for filming started life, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, as Chevy Impalas.
Correct. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is an extended Impala frame.
There you go.
20 feet long.
Yeah.
So it's as long as my whole Impala is.
Right. So does that mean it's a small block under that long hood?
Yes, it is. It is a small block 350.
So it's never going to die.
No, you got just regular old automatic behind it, so it's gonna leak, but it'll still shift.
It'll work.
Here's my favorite bullet point: windshield wipers.
Has to have them, man. If you're going to drive it on the street, you don't have to have a windshield, but you got to have wipers.
Oh my God! Well, it's got the cockpit. Remember the door kind of lifts up and then goes forward a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
So whoever bought this, bless you, thank you.
God, I hope it was Michael Keaton.
I hope it was Ben Affleck.
No.
But this is just one of those batshit crazy things that I love seeing at sales.
That was a good term for this one, honestly.
It's just
Pun intended.
So much fun. With such a useless thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe you know a place that's going to be flat enough to where you can maybe drive this thing around and not screw up all the ground effects.
Yeah, and once you do, what are you going to do about it?
I mean, those Yeah, I mean those are kind of, I mean, not one off necessarily, but custom made fiberglass body pieces. No, this Batmobile was one of the most fun things I've seen in a very long time come to sale. It's no fire breathing dragon car crusher, but it's still a load of fun.
That's right square in just the right area for a certain buyer, right?
Yeah. Oh.
The people that were young when those movies came out
Yep.
are now at prime buying age.
Yeah, we're talking 89 and 92.
Right. So these guys call them in their mid 30s to mid 40s, right? Maybe even a little bit older than that.
But they're ish.
Yeah. So it's kind of the perfect car to go and grab those guys and make them want to do something. Yeah. You know, this is, it takes the whole poster car thing, you know, the Countachs and the Testarossas and that kind of stuff, and it just puts a different level on it.
Oh, it is next level.
Because not only do you have the poster car, but you have the poster car that nobody else is going to have. You show up at Cars and Coffee in the freaking Batmobile.
You won.
Yeah.
You won
Right.
that day.
And it's not the Adam West Batmobile.
No.
Let's come in. This is cooler.
Yeah, no, we're talking legit 89.
Michael Keaton
Officially
and
licensed
Jack
product.
Nicholson as the Joker. I mean, come on.
One of the best movies ever made. I don't have a problem saying it.
Yeah, and when Gotham City actually looked like it was supposed to look, like right out of the comics. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
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 What does it say that only one I remember was the one with Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger?
It says all the worst things
You are welcome.
about you and your movie tastes.
Yeah. What movies? I don't watch movies.
Well, no.
I could see
That
why
could have
you
been the last
wouldn't.
one I watched.
That's probably why, you know.
Yeah. Well, Batman and Robin is going to ruin it for everybody. Or was that Batman? No, that was Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Because Batman Forever was Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah.
That's the one. This is the one that had Poison Ivy in it.
Correct.
Right.
Uma Thurman
Yeah.
as Poison Ivy, which...
She's now back on the Bateman commercials. Have you seen that one?
Yes. Those are State Farm commercials.
There we go. Okay.
Batman versus Bateman. Where Jason Bateman is what he rolls around on a scooter.
Well, do they at least have a Batmobile?
There is a Batmobile.
It's not that one.
It is the more modern Lamborghini
Yeah.
inspired or based one.
Man, you know, young people today, they just don't, they aren't going to know. And I suppose me saying that is exactly the same thing as a boomer looking at me and talking about the Adam West Batmobile and telling me I don't know.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's the same thing.
It's the same.
Yeah. Nothing changes. It's just some of the talking points and who's doing the talking.
But at
the
least-
actual words pretty much.
At least we recognize it.
That's important.
Yeah. All right, I got another one for you here that's kind of off the wall. It's not exactly a Batmobile. In fact, it's kind of probably the exact opposite, other than the fact that it also has a 350 Chevy in it. 1990 Chevrolet 3500 4x4 pickup. Crew cab, long bed, 71,000 miles, original window sticker in pretty good shape. $90,200.
Saw that one. Yeah.
$90,000 for a 1990 3500 pickup. Now, I get it. Modern trucks
I don't.
are expensive. They're complicated. They're hard to fix. And they don't necessarily do anything better than this truck does.
Outside of maybe keep you comfortable and pump that satellite radio in without extra parts? No.
So I think part of what we're looking at here is the end of simplicity in trucks and the fact that things are so stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And the fact that 91, we're talking about the last of the square bodies.
Yep.
And the square bodies have a huge following now. They didn't used to, but now they do. All of those things work together to inflate value on something like this. Yeah. I think he might be a little ahead of the market on this one, honestly. But he's not out of the ballpark.
Wait, tell me the price one more time.
It was $90,200.
Yeah. Okay. I thought for a second maybe I got confused and it was 9,000, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I get it. I don't get it at all.
No.
Let's just be honest. I don't get it at all. I understand what you guys are saying totally. Not on that truck.
No, that's
If I
we are ahead of he is ahead of the game.
I mean,
The buyer
maybe.
is.
I mean, aside from the classic perspective, if someone thinks that this last square body kind of a thing, if I was going to do that, which I totally understand, when like I love diesel stuff. If I'm going to get a full size truck, it's going to be a diesel. But like Chad said, a base one of those like $60,000 to $65,000. But I'd rather go back maybe 10 years, get like a early 2000s, maybe like a 2004 Dodge you could spend 30 grand on it and it's a hell of a lot more truck.
Yes.
Or
Yes,
even
it
go
is.
back a little farther. Let's just go back to the old 7.3 Ford.
Oh, please.
I mean,
That's
not the most powerful, but
no,
always going to be there for you.
The 7.3 Power Stroke is the best Power Stroke they have built. Yes, it is not the most powerful, but man, it doesn't have the issues
And
that the 6-liter or the
simpler.
6.7 or any of the later ones did.
And everything around it is simpler.
The direct injected 7.3, not the IDI 7.3. We don't want those.
No.
But the 90, was it 95, 96?
96, I think.
And later, up to, was it 03 when they switched to the 6-liter. So 96-ish to 03 7.3s are amazing engines.
That's the one that's in my head.
Yeah.
But I would rather do either of those options before I spent 90 grand. If I'm going to spend 90 grand, I might as well go get the new one.
How about
Personal opinion.
110 grand for a 78 F-150 Lariat?
I mean,
Did you say 78?
78.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's some of the goofy numbers are getting to some of the odd years.
The odometer only had 221 miles on it. It's a fresh restoration. Red, short bed, lifted, 400,
and it's a Ford.
and it's a Ford.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, it's, again, one sale doesn't make the market. Okay, well, there were two. The other one was a long bed. 78 Ford F-250 Ranger pickup. This one was a 351 4-speed truck. Black long bed, not lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea, though. Nice, well done, stock, basically, other than the fact they would have had like a day two. This one's got, the F-250 has aluminum wheels, and the Lariat here, the F-150, slotted mags, right? But generally speaking, we're looking at light day two modifications on nicely restored trucks, and they're bringing 6-figure pricing. Now, this is something we haven't seen happen as much with Fords as we had with GMs and things like that. And it's interesting that this happened here at Indy, where we see not as many trucks bringing not as much money as you would say at, like I said earlier, a coastal auction or a sale that is not in the middle of, farm country, for lack of a better term. And yet here we are. Big money.
Big money.
I mean, in defense of these numbers versus that 90 or 91,
Here we
I
go.
mean, at least this is more classic.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm a little biased because we've always been Fords for some reason with trucks. My parents had a couple of those when I was really young. That was our family work truck. Granted, it was not nice. It was, the last one we had was brown and rusted out on the doors and stuff.
But if you went to a Ford dealership in 78, this is what your trucks would look like. If you went to a Chevy dealer in 78, they'd look just like that square body. Different headlights, but same idea. No? Okay. It's worth a try.
Maybe some, I don't know. Not 90,000.
But again, I think all
Crew
three
cab
of these
long
are reflecting the same frustration that you see with new trucks, and also a new appreciation for the older ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm eager to see this continue. I would actually not be surprised to see it continue, because honestly, it's the same trend we've been watching for a while.
Maybe
where we're headed.
Maybe Indy's the place you take your off-brand truck then, or maybe it's the place to take your truck after all, but since there's not a lot there.
I think it's the place to take your stock restored, really high-end, nicely done pickup.
That makes sense. It fits in with the other, high-end restored muscle.
I think
it's just an offshoot of that.
If you've got a slammed F100 or C10 with either 5-liter or LS power, you take it to Kissimmee.
We're not doing the street machine stuff. We're doing
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you would just go to
Fair
Kissimmee with that, because honestly, they did really, really well early in the year with that stuff there. It's just at this auction, it was a different clientele and a different group of vehicles. I got another one here. 95 BMW M3 Coupe. 21,000 miles. This was lot S102, Saturday.
So that's going to be the E36?
Mm-hmm. So it's an E36 M3, black over black. Nice car, 21,000 original miles. You want to guess what it did?
$45,100. Holy.
Now, I realize we're talking about 6-figure cars generally here and $1 million cars, but I also like to go down and look at things that are kind of on the move. And this is something I think we've probably all been watching for a while. Performance cars from the 90s are getting to be old enough that they are coming into their own as collector cars. You can find one that people revere, and the M3 is E36 M3s are known for being among the best handling cars out there, especially from the era.
Yeah, adored.
Yeah.
Adored by their drivers.
So find one with no miles on it, and then what happens? The number goes up.
It's going to pop.
And now we've got $45,000. So I think it's a good example of a market that's shifting up, and specifically on performance versions that are starting to become socked away. People are starting to grab these things and hide them up because they know it's going to follow the same trends as the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
So the E36 is kind of the last one. It's a little bit that forgotten middle child, I think, in the M3 range, because you had the E30 before that.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them. It's hugely expensive. The E46 after that car was even more popular. And I think was even more lusted after early on. Prices jumped up on those. I think we're finally just seeing it on the 36 now.
What I think is interesting on this one is that it's really nothing special. There's nothing remarkable about it, other than the fact that it's an M3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that particular model, there's not the one of.
Yeah, it's not a lightweight. It's not. It doesn't have any of the crazy special things that people hunt down on these cars that I could see, other than the fact that it's low mileage and it's in good shape.
Yeah.
So
they're very sedate looking and compared to, I think, their predecessor and successor. Slightly.
I'll agree with that.
No fender flares, a little more standard looking, closer to the regular car.
Yeah.
But still an M car.
It's leather interior, luxury package, alloy wheels, clean Carfax, it says. This is where we're at.
Nothing screams used car more than a clean Carfax.
Yeah. Sunroof.
It's a used car listing. These are all used cars, but
in this case, it's something more. I guess
is.
that's a really good way to look at it. It is moving from used car to something else.
Yes.
And we are seeing it happen, and this number, I think, is a really good example of how it is happening.
yeah. I got something along the same lines.
All right, what
that
you
I
got?
wanted to point out.
Ooh.
A 1997 Lancer Evo 4 GSR. This was lot L242.1. So Sunday, May 11th is when this happened. It was, this sale ran through Saturday, May 17th.
Yeah, this was an early lot.
Early.
But still 2 days in, because they started Friday, May 9th. This was a massive sale. Now this one's still. I always love looking out for Evos. I love looking out for the Bug Eye Subarus. Late 90s, early aughts, rally cars are a love of mine.
Good luck finding one that doesn't have a reconstructed title.
The actual ones that did something, that's where they've all ended up. This one didn't do anything.
Right.
So this 97 Evo 4, it's a JDM, so right-hand drive. It's got 75,000 kilometers on it.
Okay.
Grand total price on that, $20,900.
Wow.
That was so cheap.
Yeah, that was a great buy.
Now, I think this particular vehicle had a couple things working against it. I've been looking at Evo 4s for some of the other new stuff that we do. Seeing these sell $35,000 to $40,000 is not uncommon. You go to Cars and Bids or one of the regular online auction sites, and you pretty regularly find them north of 30.
Yeah.
Those are usually U.S. models. Those are usually modified pretty heavily.
Yeah.
This one really comes off as so stock, just not abused, not rebuilt. Everything just says, no, it was just a nice car that nobody beat the hell out of. But I think it being so early in the sale and it being a right-hand drive, really, really put a wet blanket on the value here.
Congrats to the new owner.
Yeah. Way to be ahead.
So I've got a counterpoint to this car that helps to, I think, really explain the demographics and the nature of the sale. 1970 Chevrolet Nova SS.
Okay.
350, 300 horse, 4-speed car, has a 12-bolt. Super nice high-end restoration. Underneath the car, when you start to read about it, it says, better handling than a 396 version. Now, You know you're getting into the weeds when you're saying, well, this one's better than that one because it handles better, even though the other one is probably the one everybody really wants.
Right.
Yeah. Here's what I
We'll
think
note
is
that.
so interesting about this car is that it was $99,000.
Woo!
This is for a Chevy 2. Nova SS. Small block car.
Yeah.
Green. This was, hang on.
Who says people don't want green cars?
Yeah, lot S227 sold on Saturday. Showed 49,352 miles. Fresh out of restoration. It's a nice car, really nice car. Looked great, but it's still a small block Nova, and it sold for $100,000. That same money could have got you any number of big block cars.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it could have got you close to a 69 Camaro Copo that sold for $134.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not exactly apples to apples here, but that's a lot of money for that car.
Well, you put those two cars in front of the vast majority of people, they're going to pick the Copo.
Yeah.
Especially when it's spitting distance in price.
But as this relates to the Mitsubishi, I think what we're looking at here is enthusiasm for a certain type of car from a certain era that has a certain look, and that's where you're going to get your I don't want to say out of line money, but it's where you're going to get a bigger enthusiastic bidders pool.
Yes.
On something like that. And it's just a function of Indy being a very traditional auction with very traditional buyers.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, Lord, no.
I mean, $100 million will prove that there's nothing wrong with that. So it also shows both, well, really all the high-end pricing that we've seen for muscle cars, the stuff that we thought was either over the top or right on the line with where the market is right now, is that right now in the vast majority of the car world, the numbers are doing fine.
Yes.
And I've been hearing a lot of chatter back and forth about the market doing this and the market doing that, and using any number of cars to illustrate whatever the point is that they're trying to make about things, slip sliding away or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
The numbers are telling a different story, and if you look in the right places, you can see that confidence is still doing well enough that the right cars are bringing the right money. Now, it's not $1.6 million for a Superbird like it was in 2022, but a $99,000 Nova wouldn't be happening in a market that was tanking.
Correct. Yeah. Agreed.
I'm going to say it again. I think it's that top end of the market that's softening and breaking down a little bit first. Mm-hmm. And I think that was evident in Indy by those Instaclastic supercars. Yeah, the LaFerrari sold. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Grand Sport Bugatti sold. The other one-off stuff, the stuff that's a little more flash in the pan, maybe it's not as lusted after universally, didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think people are not just willing to throw money out on something like that.
Right.
If it's tried and true, if it's the right car.
Yeah, talking about the $1 million sales, they had 13 cars that were bid to $1 million at this sale, and I believe 2 of them sold. Mm-hmm. And if another 2 of them sold, we would be talking about a much higher total.
Right.
So it's just sort of the game that's played at that end, and
I mean, it makes sense, and that's a tiny section of the market,
right,
as a whole.
But it is
you're
one
see things quickly.
It is one that has many eyeballs on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
People love looking at the top end stuff.
Well, but the game of the top end isn't really. You'll see that in a lot of different auctions. Say, your RM Sotheby's or Gooding and Company. Mecum is, I think, most of their money is coming out of the middle of the market in general. I mean, they're the biggest auction house in the world.
Oh, by
both
volume.
in terms of volume and in terms of number. I mean,
dollars.
Yeah. I mean, they stomp everybody, including Bring a Trailer. I mean, everybody gets stomped by Mecum.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're a volume seller.
Nobody sells more. Nobody.
They don't. It's just the way it is.
I don't know if they still use that tagline or not.
They did for a long time, and it was right.
For a long time.
Yeah, and it's a good idea of. I mean, it's the same idea that you're talking about here. It's not about they have these cars for sale, but that's not going to make or break them. It's having 500 other cars that do just a little bit better than everybody thought they might.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of goes to what you're talking about last time on the last episode where we talked about you can choose what segment of the market you want to look at and very much analyze it and come up with what's going on, but that's not universal for the whole thing as a total. What's going on up at $1+ million cars is obviously not what's going on at the sub $500,000, sub $200,000 range. Super strong still.
Yeah. Well, and sub $20,000 certainly doesn't care about that top end.
Nope.
No, they're different people, different markets.
Then I have one last car I really want to pull up, and these are a personal favorite of mine.
Oh boy, is this more of a favorite than the Batmobile?
Well, one of these is certainly much more attainable.
Is it a Prowler?
This is a long pause I'm going to leave in.
I hate them. I hate them. I hate
what I
them.
had to
If you're going to have a Prowler, you got to get the trailer to go with it.
Absolutely.
You absolutely need to.
Yeah.
You tool.
That's your only storage.
Where are you going to put your New Balances, your collection of New Balances when you're going on your road trip? Come on.
And your wife's clogs.
Oh God. No, the Prowler. We'll just go there very briefly. The Plymouth Prowler is the most disappointing car ever made.
Very fair.
The most disappointing. It looks cool, especially when it came out in '97. That was radical. You had like wheels sticking out from the fenders. How nuts is this? It was so cool looking. And then you found out what powered it. 3.5 liter V6.
Cab forward.
I had the 3.3 version of that in my Chrysler Concorde.
Cab forward.
Yes, yes. And the 3.5 is a much more powerful engine than the 3.3, but otherwise it's practically the same, and it sucks.
It took me a long time to realize how disappointing they actually were.
No, they are the most disappointing car ever made. I will stand on that. It should have been a V8, and there should have been a manual option.
Yeah,
you could have had one of the coolest cars ever made with those minor adjustments. I know the V6 is shoehorned in there. You can still do it with a V8, I promise.
Yeah, I remember seeing them.
It's just the worst. It's the worst car ever made. And to you people who are paying 40 or 60 grand for them, you deserve it.
You better have the trailer though. But I saw that
Yeah.
in the dealership in like I think 99 or 2000 when my parents bought a brand new Durango. And then let's say it was about 11 years later when I started work at the Ferrari store on a used car lot, there was a couple Prowlers coming in because they're collectable along the same lines as the SSR.
People have the wrong attitude about them.
Yeah.
And the HHR.
And, that's that one. But anyway, I got in that thing, started up, and you hear that V6. I'm like,
PT Cruiser.
Man. It is very disappointing.
Yeah.
It's the most disappointing car ever made.
I'm sorry I opened that can of worms.
I'm not. I am not. Anyway, what is not a disappointing car in terms of getting a 6-cylinder instead of an 8, how's that for a transition?
Hey, there you go.
Is the 1989 Pontiac Turbo Trans Am.
You love these cars.
I love these cars. They're amazing. It's a turbocharged Trans Am.
It's like a Grand National in an F-body.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is. And they don't have necessarily the cachet of the Grand National. They don't have the cost of the Grand National, but you're getting the same damn thing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So they had 3 of them at this sale. And what was interesting was the price points they went for. Because they went for the first one, so in order of run. So J26 or J62 sold for $35,750. K229 sold for $46,200. The one I want to point out, T199, sold for $60,500.
Wow.
So what's interesting is you can look at these 3 in a row and you will just see sort of use. Mm-hmm. The $35,000 one has the most miles and shows the most wear. The middle one is, well, right where you expect it to be in this little lineup here. And then the one that sold for $60,000, this came from a museum. The Thunderdome Car Museum is what it was selling out of. And it's got 6,105 miles since 1989. And it is
their museum,
just
the Thunderdome.
So, but it's so clean. I don't care. I don't care who names what. This car is just amazing. Let's see. What else did the Thunderdome bring to to the sale. They actually brought some interesting ones. A 77 Mercury Monarch with a 250 inline six and an automatic. That sold for $6,600. Anyway.
I just think of Mel Gibson with a chainsaw. I'm sorry. Two-man enter, one-man leave.
Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, so this was a V6 in place of a V8 that is not a disappointment.
Yeah, those are cool cars.
But the 60 grand, I've seen some of these go upwards of 80.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty abnormal one. The nice thing about these specific cars is, I mean, they made 1,500 of them that year. So not super rare, not super common. Practically nobody knows about them. The knowledge of this being the F-Body Grand National is just absent.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're into, look for some of these. It's going to be cheaper.
And a hell of a lot of fun to drive.
And just a blast.
Assuming you can bring yourself to do it. If you buy something with 0 miles on it, we've talked about that before too.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to go and experience something that you didn't get to back in the day. And if your goal is to take go and buy the car you always wanted, then you need to go drive it.
I don't know what you're doing otherwise.
Who cares about the mileage at that point?
Yeah.
And yeah, if you spent extra for the low mileage example, just means you're going to have a nicer car. Go drive it.
Do so.
Maybe Kendrick Lamar will name his next tour after it. After the Grand National Tour, the Turbo Trans Am Tour.
Well, I think he already has his mind made up on the 80s GM vehicle he's into. And that's, I mean, if you're going to pick one.
There's room for both.
The Grand National, I mean, that's the 80s American car to have.
It's the pinnacle.
Unless you're going to bump up to the GNX.
20.
And you are paying through the nose on those. Everybody knows about them. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
That's kind of the fun thing. Speaking of secrets, maybe trying to get a deal. Just wrapping it back around to Mecum as a whole. As we've talked about, everything is there. Everything under the sun shows up to Mecum Indy. If there's a type of vehicle, if there's a year after, if it's not there specifically, there's going to be something within the ballpark. And that's why this is such a neat event. It literally is something for everyone. You have a price point. It almost doesn't matter. You can find something. There were, I mean, if you really wanted to just walk away with something with a motor, I mean, there were $500 scooters.
Any whizzer bicycles?
Did I get rid of? There might have been 1 or 2 whizzers.
It's not a bicycle. It's not a motorcycle. It's something else.
There were about 24 Harleys. All of the Hondas, except for like 2 S2000s, were like the little mini trail bikes or whatever.
Mecum loves a mini trail bike warm up to the day.
Yes, they do. Well, once you go from the Automobilia, then yeah, you do a little brief run of bikes or something.
The motorized warm up.
Cheap. And then we can move on to the cars. It's a fun daily warm up routine they have. But this is just it didn't matter. If you have a budget, you can find something at Indy. And Mecum, I mean, I know everybody had to when COVID came around, but Mecum was one of the first ones to start up their auctions again.
Right.
After all the various shutdowns. And they were on it with the online bidding in terms of matching it up with what was going on live. Not that they didn't have stuff before and they weren't making good use of it, but once they were trying to roll around without the massive in-person crowds, man, it became so simple to even just bid on the stuff just sitting on your couch.
Yeah.
Man, they made it easy.
Mecum sales as a whole are exactly good for what you said because they happen every month somewhere in the country.
Yep.
Pretty much. And there's always that span of price range. If you're looking for something cheap, you're going to find it there. If you're looking for something high dollar, you're going to find it there. And that's great and pretty rare in kind of the world of car auctions.
And if you're looking for something specific,
unless you're
going to
something
find
super regional.
6 different options of that same car at a different price ranges and different conditions.
Yeah.
which is something you don't see very often either.
I'm just looking at a bit of the spreadsheet that I have up in front of me. I mean, talking about Pontiac GTOs, just real quick from what they had here. They had 33 of them, ranging from 1964, and then they had one new one from '05, but the other 32 were all 64 to 70. And I mean, price ranges. We had our Judge we talked about. There was another one, Ram Air 3 Judge convertible that went for $286.
Interesting.
So pipped the one we discussed earlier
Right.
by a bit. That was a 4-speed manual.
Right.
So that's
Well,
going to be
there's the difference, right?
that's the difference.
People want the ultimate spec of whatever it is they're looking for.
The events like this, I think, are when you get to them, are so much more fun than sitting there clicking online. Just update, refreshing. Okay, am I going to get sniped here? Oh God. That's a lot less fun than going and actually waving a paddle in the air and going inspecting cars.
Well, and remember, it's a car show in addition to being an auction.
Yeah.
And that's something to remember when someone's droning on that in-person auctions are just going to be dead soon enough. They're kind of smaller. There's fewer of them, maybe.
I think
but they're never going away totally.
Settling out
Yeah.
is happening.
Yeah.
I make an auction calendar just to keep track of some of the new stuff we do. And, I did this 10 years ago doing the exact same damn thing.
Old habits die hard. Yeah.
I get
Making
it.
this. I mean, I still use 3 columns on the one page so I could see it all nice and clearly.
I'm right there with you.
But there are fewer companies doing this. There are fewer sales going on doing this. And online has become so much more of a player than they were. And again, we recognize Bring a Trailer's massive effort on upping that game, and then everybody else pretty much replicating
Haggerty Marketplace.
what they did.
Yeah. Cars and Bids.
Yep.
Yeah.
P-car market, if you're really into Porsche.
The MB market.
Oh yeah. Oh, some of these get a little too narrow, but the owners want to make their bucks. Enjoy.
Go for it.
But that is going to be one thing that keeps land sales going.
Yep.
It's an event you can go to. You can take the family, take the kids, and where the hell are you going to go to a car show? It's got 2,261 cars sitting there.
Under tents.
Under tents.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not out
or
in
inside,
in the blazing sun all the time. You can actually be rather comfortable. And then you get to hear each of these things move.
Yeah.
If you're around at the right time. I don't know. The online communities are a little ahead of where the real world is at in terms of thinking this is the spot. I mean, there's a little too much navel gazing that goes on the internet. Period. Doesn't really doesn't matter which corner of it we're talking about. Cars specifically here, but yeah, no, these are going to be a thing. They're not going to disappear. They're going to change. Things always change.
This sale is proof of that, though.
Well, but that's what we're here
75%
for.
Sell through and $100 million in sales.
Yeah, no, but this is what we're here for. We're going to tell people what's changing in the market, what's not changing in the market.
Yeah.
Also,
and why you should care.
why you should care. It's what we do.
Here at the Auto Shift.
Um,
Do you want to take us out this time?
No, not at all. Not today. I'm not sharp enough.
That's it for this edition of the Auto Shift. Be sure to follow us on social media and check us out at theautoshift.com. We'll have there's a newsletter there that you can sign up for, and we have new posts posted there every week. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
See ya.